Do you know who you welcomed into your home?
Servant is an Apple TV series that premiered in 2019, ran for 4 seasons, was produced by M. Night Shyamalan, stars Nell Tiger-Free, Lauren Ambrose and Toby Kebbell. It's interesting for me to talk about this TV series. Obviously it's come and gone. As mentioned, there was 4 series of it, and I'm not really sure if it had quite an impact amongst the horror community. I mean, I did see a few things mentioned about it, but there wasn't like a huge buzz, and it was a TV show that, for me, I never understood why more people weren't talking about it. And the reason I decided to speak about it now, I mean, if you've seen the show, you either know how good or bad you think it was. Personally, I loved the series and found it really, really enjoyable. But upon watching another TV show that's airing at the minute called From, it's another show that I don't see a lot of people speaking about. And it reminded me of, well, it's similar to Servant, because a lot of people didn't seem to speak about Servant then. And From seems to be getting the same treatment, despite the fact that it's an excellent show. So I'm sure, much like Servant, From has its fans because it's still going and it keeps getting renewed. So someone's definitely watching it. But yeah, this is what brings me to speak about Servant today. The basic premise of the show is about a husband and a wife. You've got Dorothy, who's played by Lauren Ambrose, and her husband, who's played by Toby Kebbell. They suffer a tragedy where they lose a baby. Dorothy has a mental breakdown that she can't obviously and understandably deal with the loss of a child, while her husband is trying to keep their life together. He's like a famous TV chef, and she's a news anchor reporter. And what happens is he introduces a baby doll, like a lifelike baby doll, as part of a way of dealing with the trauma of what's happened. And Dorothy takes onto the doll, but she treats the doll as if it's a real life baby. Now, her husband obviously knows the baby had passed away. Her brother, played by Rupert Grint from Harry Potter, he knows he passed away, and only their immediate family, no one else really in their circle knows about this. So they play along, hoping that Dorothy will come around and sort of snap out of the trauma that she's obviously is blocked out of her head. Now, it's early in the show that Nell Tiger-Free's character Leanne comes into the story. She arrives as a nanny, and at first she's greeted warmly into the family. She's treated really, really well. And she also has a connection with the baby doll. At first, she doesn't even acknowledge that it's a doll. And that's really where the intrigue starts to pick off. This show is produced by M. Night Shyamalan, who started his career off brilliantly. His earlier films were all well received. I mean, I enjoyed all of his films up into The Village and even Lady in the Water. Has some things about it I enjoy. It's not one of his best films, and I know loads of people fucking hate it. But I really enjoy the film to an extent. And he obviously dropped off the radar at that point. Now, people deem Split to sort of be his comeback. Previous to Split, he did make a film called The Visit, which was like a found footage, low budget horror film, and I quite enjoyed that film. I enjoyed it more than Split. Split didn't do anything for me, and Glass even less so. I thought that was rubbish. It was really overrated, and it wasn't for me at all. But here in Servant, he really proves what he's shown in his earlier work. The atmosphere of Servant is always unsettling. The way it's been shot, the streets of Philadelphia, which are the Bruce Springsteen reference, the streets of Philadelphia, how they're shot at night, it's always really moody and atmospheric, and something just seems off, much like the character of Leanne that Nell Tiger-Free plays. You never really know where she comes from. Now, people do show up from her past, specifically people that say they're their aunt and her uncle, and they're even fucking weirder than what she first appears to be. And they really do, they're integral to the story. So it plays with themes, but it also plays with the viewer, as you don't really know what's happening episode by episode by episode, and this really sets the tone in season one. It continues through all of the seasons, but it sets the tone. You're given the impression that it's some sort of cult, and immediately you think a satanic cult, but it's definitely a cult. But whether Satan's involved or Satanism, it's never really defined. There are hints of something supernatural going on, and it's hinted at that it's Leanne's presence that's actually made the baby come to life, the fake baby that they have, because the husband starts seeing the baby as a real life baby, and it appears to be the son that they had lost. The baby's name is Jericho. So everyone starts to play along with this, but everyone's mind starts to get clouded about what's real and what isn't, and how integral Leanne is to that story is what really plays out in Servant. And also the title of the show, Servant, to me it's like, well, who's serving who here? You know, you're like, is it a servant of God? Is it a servant of the devil? And these themes are really looked at very well. I say really a lot. I really must try and stop that, but you know, I'm not a professional. So it's a really intriguing series. Say it again. It's a very intriguing series, and it really kept me gripped. It's never boring, it's never dull. A lot of people may find it slow. Yes, certain episodes can be slow, but they're always pushing the story ahead. There's never, for me, an episode that takes itself out of the main purpose of what the story is. It's always focusing on who is Leanne, why is Leanne there, is Dorothy's mind becoming more fractured by her presence, or is she coming round more to the reality of what actually happened? All the cast give great performances. Nell Tiger-Free, who then went on recently to star in The First Omen, a film that no one wanted, but transpired to be actually really good. She gives an equally strong performance here. She plays meek, and she plays wicked, and she can play dangerous, and she can just play quiet in such a dark and menacing way that she sells every scene she's in. And equally, all of the main cast, Rupert Grint, who's really funny in the show. He's like a recovering alcoholic, you know, with the most hilarious of themes, but he manages to make a lot of the ridiculousness of the situation very funny, and he plays it really well. His American accent, it's a bit to be desired, but, you know, I can't fucking do it, so whatever. Toby Kebbell is great as the husband, constantly struggling with how to keep his wife's sanity and how to keep their marriage together, along with paying bills and keeping a house together and keeping his job. And they all do a magnificent job. Shyamalan does direct quite a few episodes in the first series, and again, it just brings you back to why you enjoyed his earlier films in the first place. The casting is excellent, the direction's really good, the set design is fantastic, and it's definitely worth your while. So I would encourage you to go back. If you haven't seen Servant, go back and watch it. Do stick with it, try and get through the slow sections, because it really is worth it. And maybe if you just dipped in on the first series and thought, well, this isn't for me, and all of the seasons are great. The story always picks up, it always keeps you intrigued, and it has a definitive ending. Whether sometimes people think ambiguous endings are good for particular projects, this has a definitive ending. And I know a lot of TV shows either get cancelled or they don't get renewed and don't get a chance to do that. So this does, and it's definitely worth your time. So that's my views on Servant. I hope you check it out. I hope you enjoyed listening to me talk about it, which, you know, if you do, great. You can like and subscribe, and would really appreciate it. It's still a very small channel, but hopefully you'll join me in the next one. Thanks again. All the best. Cheers.